Aloha, I'm Lyla Berg, and we're here at Palikū Theatre at Windward Community College, ready to meet the people who inform, inspire, and impact our daily lives. Thank you for joining us on Island Focus. So this looks like a pretty busy place.
Well, this is where the magic happens before it goes on stage.
Oh.
We have sets that we built here. They come down into their component pieces. And then we have sets we've used before, like above your head is the helicopter from Miss Saigon, which we devoted so much love and time to when we couldn't throw it away. So it's now become our trophy wall. We have our calendar, July 4th calendar from 1776. We have a moose from Pajama Game. And this is all in the room where we build everything. Here are all our saws.
Your tools.
We put everything together here, but then we knock it down into component pieces because we don't have enough room to store things. We do have an area over here we can store chairs and smaller pieces, but besides that, we knock everything down into panels and put it back together. But the one thing that we could not throw away was after we did the Phantom of the Opera, we had this wonderful chandelier. And if you look up here, still hanging above our heads, and we guarantee it won't come crashing down, is the chandelier from Phantom of the Opera.
You know, I love the fact that you keep these mementos and these souvenirs that were such an integral part of every show. So in addition to the brochures and the posters, you have the work of your craftsmen.
It is, and the people who work here to build these things are true artists and craftspeople, and we couldn't do it without them.
I'm here today with Heidi Tsuneyoshi, council member with our Honolulu Council. Thank you for being with us. And thank you, too, for taking the time.
Thank you for the opportunity.
You're a very special person to be on the council, not only with your educational background and your professional background, but also your genetic background.
This is true. So I'm very honored and humbled to be the first Native Hawaiian woman to be voted on to serve on the Honolulu City Council. So my background being my mother is Hawaiian Chinese German and my father is actually from a little small town in Waycross, Georgia. So a very diverse background that I'm very proud of and very proud to again be the first Native Hawaiian woman on the council.
And growing up in Wahiawa, going to Lelehua High School, really prepared you, I think, for this new role.
Growing up with my father being in the military, I actually lived in a number of different areas. So I lived in Japan and Washington State and lived in Washington, D.C., and then came back to Hawaii in my junior year. And having lived in so many places and visited so many places, really realized how important Hawaii is and how special the place and people are.
So give us a little background on your profession and what in the world encouraged you to run for the council?
That's a good question. So at first, I never thought that I would go into politics. My background is actually after I graduated from Lelehua, I didn't really know where I was going in my profession. I had an amazing psychology teacher, and she said, "You are very good at psychology and how you understand and are interested in people." So she actually encouraged me to apply to a program at UH Manoa, where I got accepted and eventually graduated with my bachelor's in psychology, and I got a master's in psychology at Chaminade University, and then became a licensed mental health counselor. So I've worked in homeless and transitional shelters, and I've worked at the women's prison and with different programs with at-risk youth. And so have had a lot of background about working with a very different populations within our communities, and have seen all the way throughout as I really focused on service to the people that there are so many challenges that our people are facing today. Our families and individuals have so many issues that they're having to work in, and then kind of fell into politics as it were.
Well, I'd like to suggest you were called there as the next step of your profession. And being on the council, especially newly elected and stepping into a lot of the existing issues that we're dealing with in Honolulu, what do you find the most rewarding?
I think still most rewarding for me is getting out and working with the people and hearing from them as to where they're at and moving forward and taking that voice back to the city council. I think a lot of times when I first got elected, a lot of what I've heard is that the people didn't feel there was a point to voting or getting involved in government because they really felt their voice wasn't being heard. So in these early months, the most exciting feedback I've heard is that they feel that I'm actually expressing what they're feeling in their own on their own, and then that is coming forward in the council. So that's been one of my most rewarding experiences so far.
And I would imagine with your skill base as a psychologist, to listen and to hear things in a different way would also encourage you to ask different questions. That must be kind of challenging for your colleagues to have different questions asked.
That is true, and just also reading nonverbal behavior and just being able has been a really interesting part of my job, because that's part of my job as a psychologist, not only to listen to what people say, but how they're saying it. And that's been a very interesting part, but it has really helped me to, when we're sitting in the meetings and different issues come up, can really read the whole situation and think about what questions need to be asked to get the answers for the people. So that has been very interesting.
Well, you know, our time is coming up soon to end this conversation and this meeting with you. But if I could ask you, it feels as if you do have hope for the city. What might we look forward to with your leadership there?
First of all, I get chicken skin because my older daughter's name is Hope. And really, my two daughters, Hope and Haley, who are 21 and 19, are really my motivation and inspiration for joining in and putting my hat in the ring. And the hope is that we build a place we can all be proud to call home, that our children can come home, and that we can make sure that they can not only survive but thrive, so we maintain the cost of living and help people know that there's a place for them here.
Well, we wish you well, especially in the endeavor to bring Pono to the council. And thank you very much for your leadership, and we'll look forward to hearing a little bit more as the year goes on.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
We've had the opportunity to meet Heidi Tsuneyoshi, who is a council member here in Honolulu. Thank you for being with us. I'm at Palikū Theatre here at Windward Community College with Pedro, who is with the Kailua Chamber of Commerce. And I'm very happy to meet you.
Likewise, thank you.
The Chamber of Commerce is a very important entity for all communities, but in Kailua in particular, and you have a very interesting role with them.
I do. So I'm a third generation Kailua resident and have done business also in Kailua, but my role with the Kailua Chamber is as the Director of Communications and Marketing. I should clarify, volunteer role.
Aren't we all volunteers in the world
True.
somehow?
True.
So the Chamber of Commerce pretty much speaks for itself, but perhaps you can explain a little bit more about what happens here in Kailua
Sure.
with your
sure.
organization and maybe some projects you're working on.
The beauty of what we do at the Kailua Chamber is that we're very authentic about the way we support each other in the community, in the schools, families, and business, of course. We're a business organization. And what I like most is that we have some special community projects that we do. One is upcoming this summer, July. There's the annual 4th of July Independence Day Parade that Kailua hosts.
That's
It's the 73rd year.
That
so
is your
special.
signature. I remember that.
It really, really is. It's a great event. I love our perpetual event theme for the parade. It's called With Liberty and Aloha for All. That is really who we are in Kailua, and I think it's very representative of the state in which we live.
There's been conversations about the changing demographics in Kailua in particular, and some of the concerns that residents have as businesses change. How do you address that?
Well, look at me. I actually am a third generation Hawaiian, actually. Well, let me correct myself. Third generation Kailua resident, but fifth generation Hawaiian. So I have some Hawaiian, I have some Chinese. The complexion, the demographic has changed in Kailua. However, there's a beautiful way that we can all play nicely in the sandbox, and we can do business, and we can support each other. And I think that's what you see at the Kailua Chamber. We meet every month, whether it's a general membership luncheon at Mid-Pacific Country Club, or we have some fun pauhana mixers, and all supporting Kailua businesses.
And if I would want to become a member, do I have to be a resident, or how would I become a member?
So go to our website,
call you.
kailuachamber.com. Yes, or call myself, 343-5396, or Erin Tagupa. We do have an administrator on staff. We actually have her based out of our Kailua Information Center. It's right at 600 Kailua Road. It's open Monday through Friday from 10 to 4. You can stop in, pick up information about businesses, beaches, things to do in Kailua. But I would be remiss if I didn't make a plug for, in addition to membership, be a participant in the parade. Our deadline's coming up May 31st. Perhaps somebody is interested in putting a band in, or maybe even walking for a cause, or sharing their nonprofit or their business. Check out our website. There are applications there.
As we bring our conversation to a close for today, what message would you want to leave the public?
There's a way we can all support each other, and you'll find that in true, authentic Hawaiian style, for lack of a better word. You should just come check us out. The value of the membership in terms of reciprocity and making better connections, or getting more connected in your community, and as a side benefit, really growing your business is terrific. Call me. I'd be happy to speak with someone, host a coffee hour, just so that they can truly experience it, and even host them to one of our luncheons if they were interested.
Well, it's very generous of you. And you know, many of us who grew up in Hawaii at a time when the Pali wasn't even a popular highway.
Oh my, yeah.
This was the end of the world, but now it sort of seems that Kailua is the center of the world.
Well, it is for me,
Yeah,
so
I know.
thank you. I truly appreciate that. And sometimes the commute to Kailua now with the Pali and some of the very needed repairs that are going on can make it a little challenging, but we've got lots of other ways to get to Kailua if you needed to. You can come around the east corner through Makapu'u or Waimanalo. You can take Likelike, you can take the H3. There are plenty of ways to get to us. So.
And the main point is that you are reachable.
Totally,
Thank
totally.
you. Well,
Thank you, Lyla.
Thank you for taking the
appreciate it.
time. And thank you also for joining us today on Island Focus. We've been chatting with Pedro with the Kailua Chamber of Commerce. Glad you could be with us. How fortunate we are today to have the opportunity to speak with Terry George, who is President and CEO of Castle Foundation. Mahalo for joining us, and thank you for taking the time.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
Castle Foundation, this is, Windward Side is your stomping ground.
Windward Side has been an important part of the history and formation and continued work of the foundation. Harold Kainalu Long Castle, who was third generation missionary family, rented and then purchased Kaneohe Ranch, which owned most of Kailua back at the turn of the century. And about half a century later, he started this foundation, giving it gifts of land and ultimately endowing it to be a resource for Hawaii for forever.
So when we speak about a foundation as a nonprofit organization, what sort of projects do you have involved, and who gets in, who's participating, and where are you located?
Well, we're located in Monowili, right at Castle Junction, right where the Pali Highway is currently stopped, but it'll get started again soon. Our mission really is to close the achievement and attainment gap in public and higher education in Hawaii, restore the health of our nearshore fisheries, and those are statewide parts of our mission. And third is local. It's really to strengthen the vibrancy of communities in Windward Oʻahu from Kahuku Point to Makapu'u Lighthouse.
Those are fairly divergent projects
They
or
are.
different areas. How do they integrate and how does it work together?
Well, sometimes they work together and sometimes they're a little separately. But I think one of the ways that they work together, Lyla, that's I think exciting, there's been this resurgence of aina-based education around the restoration of fish ponds, lo'i for kalo, and just a celebration and deepening of Hawaiian culture. So to the extent that these places, as well as our nearshore fishery restoration efforts, can be seen as some of the best classrooms for learning science, social studies, engineering, civics, then I think they integrate together.
And so actually, even though you're based in Maunawili or in the windward side, your grantees are all over the state.
We are. I think we've impacted over 100 public schools around the state. A lot of our most cutting edge work in strengthening leadership in our public schools is actually in western side of Hawaii Island. Same thing with nearshore marine resource conservation. There's a lot of innovation there, also on Molokai, also on Kauai, just to give a few examples.
So maybe you could speak a little bit more about the fish pond restoration or some of the water projects that you have.
Sure, and one is a grantee that's really near here. Paipaio Heia, as you know, is an 800-year-old fish pond that sits on Kamehameha School's land that a wonderful nonprofit has been working to restore for the last 20 years. And they came to us to ask for dollars, not just for operating costs, but to hire a firm called Townscape to develop a master plan that would make sense. And so we gave a small amount for that, and we've also helped them set up a homegrown internship program so that area high school and college students could get their hands wet and dirty. And as a result, they've built tremendous community support for what they're doing.
So in your personal and professional background, you all over the world doing the volunteer work that you have done, how does this particular foundation touch you the deepest?
It's personal for me because I grew up in Hawaii and I will remain in Hawaii for my entire life. I was privileged to be able to work for the Ford Foundation in many countries in South Asia, in Southeast Asia, and I learned a lot from that. And I'm applying a lot of what I learned there to Hawaii. But now I want to make sure that we're not just through our grant trying to make a difference, but that we truly are making a lasting and meaningful difference for Hawaii's future.
So if you had some advice as our conversation comes to an end to anyone listening who wants to participate in really making a difference, that sounds so trite, but what advice would you give them? Where would they look? What would they ask?
Well, there are many different ways of doing philanthropy, and so I would urge people to find out what they're passionate about, what problem they want to solve, and instead of just getting angry, get smart and get going. You can and should think big, but it's okay to start small. Second is there are people who take one starfish, as the metaphor goes, and throws it back. We want to save all the starfish. So we've been working that's why we work directly with the Department of Education and the University of Hawaii and the Division of Aquatic Resources. We're building their capacity long-term to work with communities to do right for kids and to do what's right for our nearshore coral reef ecosystems.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your leadership and the work that you do. We'll look forward in future programs to hear a little bit more.
Thanks so much, Lyla. I look forward to that.
You've just had the opportunity to listen in on my conversation with Terry George, who is President and CEO of Castle Foundation. We're here at Windward Community College. Mahalo for joining us. So here we are in front of the theater, with the doors open, welcoming us to a performance. It's what it was intended to be, isn't it?
It is. It's a welcoming location. It welcomes you to Windward Community College, and it welcomes you to this part of the valley, the Palikū Valley. And Palikū means steep cliff. Ku has that strong, upright strength, though it sort of represents the surroundings and the building and even the seating in the inside. And it turns out that Palikū was the ancient name of this part of the Ahupua'a that King Kamehameha granted to Garrett Judd back in the 1800s. And this is kind of resurrecting the use of the word Palikū in a specific place.
I love that not only the architecture is so contemporary, but also historic. But I love that there's a significance for the theater. It isn't just a state building, and it's not just here.
The building itself is a work of art, and it contains works of art. It contains a gallery. It contains performing arts space for the community to come and enjoy all of the hula and music and the things that Hawaii stands for.
And its placement here at the back of the campus.
It welcomes people kind of to the campus. As a matter of fact, I'm always fond of saying that this is the front porch of Windward Community College.
Yeah.
It welcomes people here who would have no other reason to drive up that road.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much for
It was nice
welcoming
having
us.
you here. Thanks so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you for joining us here today at Windward Community College in Palikū Theatre as we converse with Miley Vickery, who is the Executive Director for Hui Malama o Ke Kai. Thank you, too, for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here today.
As Executive Director of a nonprofit organization, I know there are lots of challenges you have in keeping the funding, but you also have great joy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little bit more about what the program is about and how the kids can get involved?
Hui Malama o Ke Kai is primarily an after-school program to support youth. We cultivate leaders, and they leave us with a deep sense of cultural awareness and identity.
Now, when you say cultural awareness and identity, what does that mean in real terms?
We believe in lived values. We believe in pono, malama, onipa'a, and aloha. And we try to get these children and families, as well as everyone involved on our staff and stakeholders, to not just say those and recite those, but to truly incorporate those things in who we are and what we do on a daily basis.
And my familiarity with your program leads me to suggest that it's actually who we are as people. Is
Yeah.
what you're encouraging young people to remember.
Yes. We are a culture-based, aina-based, place-based program. It started out very grassroots, and we hold on to that. We believe that to be truly a leader within your own life and then your community, you have to really understand who you are, and a large part of that is where you come from. And so that's something that we practice within our programs.
So even though you're based in Waimanalo, and the focus is in understanding and appreciating and learning more about Waimanalo, can other young people from other areas join you?
We focus on Waimanalo youth at this time, but we do have an Ohana program that allows for anyone to participate. We do a board and stone class that brings people from all across the island to participate, and we have a lot of other volunteer opportunities. So we really ask anyone who's interested to just contact us, and we will always be open to whoever would like to become a part of Hui Malama o Ke Kai.
So when we look at the name, right, Hui
Yes.
Malama o Ke Kai, it implies that there's something about the ocean that we're taking care of. But that's not just what you do.
No, our name actually came from our children that we service and that we are with all the time. They named our program, and that's something that they believed in and felt so strongly connected to, and that's how they see themselves. If you are from Waimanalo or grow up or spend any time in Waimanalo, the ocean is a big part of that, and most kids spend majority of their free time there. And so that's truly how our keikis see themselves, is cultivators of our place and our space, and especially our ocean.
So when we look at your role as executive director, it's financial, it's fundraising, it's building community, but there's a lot of joy that you have. What is a happy day for you?
It's really just seeing the kids. I don't actually get to participate with them as much with the role I play, but that's all the back office stuff, right? And it makes it worth it, seeing them in programs, seeing them come to the site, seeing them just engage with our staff. And it really is a family. It builds friendships and relationships, and it makes it so worth it. We are there for our children, and that's why we do all that we do.
And I imagine it would be also very satisfying for you to see how happy the adults are to be received by the children.
It's such a satisfying thing. to have a child smile at you or enjoy you. There's really no way to kind of put that into words. And whoever has come and been a part of Hui Malama o ke Kai can attest to that. It's about putting smiles on those kids' faces and giving them memories and experiences that truly will last a lifetime and affect who they are and who they grow up to be.
And creating those bonds in the community and relationships even with adults.
We have so many families that participate and they send child after child to us, or they still come back to volunteer and be a part of the program. We have so many members on our staff. We have an awesome team that once upon a time, they were keiki in our program.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for sharing a
Thank
few
you.
minutes with us and also your manao. Thank you.
Thank you, aloha.
We've been chatting with Miley Vickery, who is the Executive Director for Hui Malama o ke Kai in Waimanalo. Glad you could be with us. Mahalo to Windward Community College and Palikū Theatre for hosting us today, and to you for tuning in to Island Focus. I'm Lyla Berg. Aloha and malama pono. Take care of each other. See you soon.